Welcome to the EUGLOH webinar series, Spotlight on Education. We have got 1 hour today with two aspects, one topic and two partners. My name is Ashley Haberman Lawson from LMU Munich, and I work as a learning manager for EUGLOH. And today we will be joined by Sara Håkanson, who is a senior lecturer from Lund University and academic leader of one of the work packages within EUGLOH, and Sara Westman, also from Lund University, who is project manager of one of the work packages as well. Today, we will be looking at how to apply for funding for development of new learning experiences. Sara H. will be giving us some thoughts on why some experiences with co-creation, why we should co-create and collaborate, and why we need seed funding for this. While Sara Westman will be sharing some thoughts on some more technical details, so how to apply, what will be funded, and other various things. Both are active in Work Package 2, which is the work package on transnational teaching and learning and the development of this seed funding programme. Please make sure to write your questions in the Q&A during the presentations, and then we'll spend the last 30 minutes answering them. After the webinar, you will be emailed with a link to more information. The webinar is being recorded and will be made available on the EUGLOH YouTube channel after the session. So let's begin with Sara H. Why is seed money needed, and why does EUGLOH want academics to collaborate?
Well, thank you, Ashley. I think that why EUGLOH wants academics to collaborate has to do with a lot of factors. One is that we would like to see an enhanced mobility and flexibility of education across Europe. And the joint learning pathways, it allows students to study across multiple European institutions within the Alliance and fosters academic mobility and allows students to experience diverse educational environments. So in that way, it enhances the flexibility in their learning journey, you could say. And it, in a way, tailors their education according to their interests and career goals, and they have a greater variety to choose from than to do that. Another reason is that it fosters interdisciplinarity and global competence, of course. So the joint learning pathways encourage interdisciplinary learning because students are exposed to a range of courses and topics and perspectives that can be offered by several of the partner universities, and that broadens their knowledge base and develops global competence in the best way possible. Also, the joint learning pathways can improve collaboration and networking. So students and also staff, of course, from different institutions within EUGLOH can collaborate on projects and various educational activities, creating valuable networking opportunities that benefit both their academic growth and also the students' future careers. And then, of course, quality and innovation in education is promoted through joint learning pathways because it enables universities from the various partners to pool their resources and pool their expertise and to learn from each other's best practices. That can lead to the development of high quality, innovative educational offerings. And last but not least, of course, there's a fostering of support for the European integration. So by working together across borders, EUGLOH can foster a sense of European identity and integration, which is also one of the marks of the EUGLOH Alliance work together. And why EUGLOH funding then? Well, I think that we all have a sense of why we think that funding is a good thing. But in this particular case, the funding that EUGLOH offers facilitates collaboration between universities, and it enables them to create and sustain educational activities across these borders. Also, it might be able to remove some financial barriers that might otherwise prevent collaboration from taking place. And also this type of funding can work to promote excellence in education where cutting-edge resources, training, and infrastructure can be developed to offer high educational courses and course components. And why do teachers want to co-create an education? Well, one of the reasons is that it allows teachers to become innovative in their teaching and learning practices, and co-creation together with colleagues from different educational and academic contexts allows teachers to experiment with maybe new teaching methods or with new digital tools and experiment with interdisciplinary approaches. So it fosters a type of creativity that might not been able to be promoted so much if there was just one institution. Also, co-creation can foster a type of professional growth among staff. So by collaborating with colleagues from other institutions, teachers can expand their professional networks and they can gain insights into different educational practices and perspectives. And also shared responsibility also means a type of empowerment for teachers. So co-creating education fosters a sense of responsibility that is shared among teachers, but also among students and also among institutions. And last but not least, it can enhance a sense of the European higher education area. So co-creation is a key element in enhancing the quality and international competitiveness of European higher education. That, of course, is what we want to see on a global arena. And so we have some examples, if you'd like to delve into what would some of these educational activities be or look like. And one example is, for instance, the collaborative online international learning on social work that Lund University and the University of Tromsø have been working on together. So here we have a collaborative course component that works or looks at social work and is a component in each of these two partner institutions' courses. We also, in Work Package 2, are in the process of developing or funding a development of a joint program on public humanities that the University of Novi Sad, the University of Szeged, and the University of Porto are collaborating on together. And then we have a number of courses that have been developed through EUGLOH funding. For instance, the Healthy Urban Living course, the Migrants Health course, Pathways to a Healthier Planet course, and Resilience, and dare I say, maybe hundreds more courses that have been developed throughout the years that EUGLOH has now been active. So the initiatives that can be supported are the so-called COILs, which is the Collaborative Online International Learning, which means that this is a component of a course that covers 2 to 4 ECTS, 2 to 4 credits, and should be a collaboration between 2 partners or more. So it's a component within each partner's courses. There should be 30 students or more as a criterion for this, and the amount that can be applied for is €10,000 to create this type of component, the collaborative online component in a course within 2 or more partners' universities. Then there are courses, regular courses that we would like to see 3 to 5 credits big. We have seen slightly bigger courses as well, but the criterion is 3 to 5 credits for these courses. Here we would like to see collaboration also between 2 partners or more. We also have virtual courses where we have 50 students or more, and here we have the 15,000 maximum application euro application. And for the joint programs then, which can be 60 or up to 120 credits at master level. We like to see 3 partners or more, and here the maximum amount is 50,000 euros to apply for. And we very much welcome new ideas for programs at this stage. We have a lot of courses and we have some COILs, but we have fewer programs than we would like to see. So we very much welcome this. So some of the criteria for all of these educational activities are that they need to be student-centered. So they need to kind of center on student needs and innovative pedagogy that look at student-centered educational activities. We also look at transversal skills, so that any of these educational activities should speak to or promote the transversal skills. And they need to be interdisciplinary and somehow be connected to global health. And now I think that Sara Westman is going to tell you more about the technical and administrative parts of applying for funding.
Yes,
Thank you, Sarah. I just wanted to put a reminder in to write your questions or comments in the Q&A, please.
Yeah, please do that. So we like to have plenty of questions about this. Yeah, how does it actually work when you do an application to get funding to develop some new learning pathways? First of all, it's very important to make sure that you have the approval of the home institution. And that might be at your home department or at your home faculty. It works a little bit differently at different partners, but to make sure that it's not only the initiatives of a few inspired teachers, but you have the support of those in your home institution. When you are making the application to get funding, you already must have the context established with the other partners that you're going to collaborate with. So you actually do team up and work together on your application. Sara Håkanson shared how much budget, the maximum budget for different types of initiatives. And this is the amount that you share between the partners. And you can share it in the way you decide upon and agree upon in the team. Because obviously it might be that a few teachers, one parties might be putting in more hours, or the salaries differs a lot from different partners, or you agree to meet in a certain place and you need funding for traveling, more for another one. So in the budget, in the application, you decide and you kind of shows how you want to use the funding. To set a realistic timeline for the development work is very important when you start a collaboration. So we want to see what are you going to do at what point. At what time do you want to discuss and develop the content of the course? And when are you going to make sure that you actually get the course plan approved and so on? So a timeline for what steps you're taking at what point. Obviously, you need to explain the content of the learning experience, what kind of pedagogical methods you're going to use, and also, very importantly, identify the potential challenges. So what do you think? What do you foresee is going to be a challenge for you in this work? Obviously, I mean, to develop a COIL, it's a much smaller project. You already have the existing syllabuses for the courses involved. But if you're going to develop a joint program together, well, you have a lot of different challenges ahead of you, and it's very good to at least have a list of the potential challenges that you are foreseeing. Also to have a good communication with the local EUGLOH office, because they can support you both when it comes to establishing contacts. They can also tell you more in detail how funding is working within your institution, because it differs quite a lot between all the 9 partners. So there's no way for Ashley and Sara and me to say how this is going to work at your institution. So that is something you have with your local EUGLOH office. All the templates and all the information is on the website. The deadline is 1st of February 2025, and that is when you submit the application to the EUGLOH offices that are involved with that specific project. So, for example, if there is a course you want to develop between teachers from Porto and Szeged, for example, well, you need to email it and send the application to both Szeged and Porto. So they can take a look to it, and they then will continue the processing of the application. To create new learning experiences is a long-term project. It might be that you start establishing contacts right now, you get some great ideas, but you feel that you don't really have application ready for the 1st of February. Well, then it might be good to know that the next deadline will be the 1st of October 2025. So you can spend the summer as well working together and have an even better application. So once we've gotten the applications to the local EUGLOH partners, they kind of take a look at it and decide what they want to bring to EUGLOH. We will have a review board, which are using a set of criteria to evaluate the application and see what we would like to support. And then the formal decision is made by a task group where we have student representatives, we have academic and administrative representatives from all the 9 partners. So they are together making decisions of what projects to be supported. Hopefully we can communicate the results by late March 2025. So we're trying to be a bit quick here, and so you can start working before the summer vacations kicks in and starting to get working. And of course, what happens next? Well, EUGLOH want to keep track and monitor and make sure that you are making progress, also being able to offer you support if needed. So after we've been telling you the happy news, hopefully, that you've been supported, we want to have a progress report from the team after 4 months, just to see that you have started to collaborate, you have set dates for meeting and details like that. Eventually, we want to have a final report of the results, both to EUGLOH, to the work package monitoring this. And when that is, if you have developed a course, we want to see the syllabus that you developed, or we want to see the plan for how to run the COIL that you've been doing, or it might be an application for Erasmus Mundus funding for a joint program, for example. When it comes to the financial report, that is done to the home institutions. So that is in line with their guidelines and how things has to be done at the home institutions. It's also good to remember that if you have applied to develop a COIL, the COIL will be running on the ordinary course budget. So that is just part of the course as you would do it also if you didn't have a COIL. And also, of course, when you want to start that COIL is depending on when the course is running. So the actual running of the COIL doesn't have to be within the project period. First you develop it and then you run it. When it comes to these courses that you're developing for EUGLOH and that we want to be offered for all the EUGLOH students, the courses has to be approved by EUGLOH before we can put it on our website and open the call for students to apply. So it has to go through one of the work packages. And this is also something you can get support from the EUGLOH offices, how and when to do this. Joint programs, well, you can aim for applying for Erasmus Mundus funding. And they have deadlines once a year, so it also has to do with their timing. So what happens next depends quite a lot on what kind of project you are going for. Well, we mentioned what kind of sums, the maximum sums you can apply for, but also how can we use this money? What can it be for? So of all, is meant to be able to create time. I wish money could create time, but to at least support the department and support you in the work for the salaries during the time that you're working on developing these learning experiences. The funding can also be used for travel and organization of meetings. Of course, some of you might be able to use Erasmus funding for staff to travel and to meet, but otherwise this funding can be used for meeting each other as well. And as I mentioned before, the budget submitted in the application is showing how you wanted to split the budget between the partners. So it doesn't necessarily have to be in equal parts. As long as you have an agreement on how you want to split it, you can do it as it fits you best. It might also be that some has internal funding as well, and you want, or the other funding wants to go to some of the other partners. It all has to be in line with institutional regulations. We do differ quite a lot in the ways that we can transfer funding within an institution or between colleagues and so on. So it always has to be within the institutional regulations. So the applications that are submitted by the 1st of February 2025, we are allowing quite a long time to write the full reports. We want to have that by June 2026. You are, of course, allowed to finish earlier, and we are happy to have the full report earlier if that is possible. But we also know that when it comes to developing a joint program, it takes quite a lot of time and quite a lot of effort. So we are allowing a bit of longer timeline there for the funding. We also know, very much aware that after you've been approved a project, it also takes some time to make sure that you have time within your schedule to actually do the work and to collaborate on it. Yeah, I also wanted to mention that, well, money isn't everything, even though it's important. So you might be asking yourself as well, what kind of support you can get besides for applying for the money. So establishing the contacts at the partner institutions is, of course, something that's very important. You can, if you don't already have these kind of contacts with other teachers, it might be that you want to reach out to the local EUGLOH office and ask them for help, describing who you are, what you want to do, what you are looking for, and they can help you out. We also have on our website a service where you can write a proper description of your project. We can post it on the website. You can go there and look for it. But also to make it a little bit quicker, we are creating a Padlet. So a Padlet, we put this link on our website where you can look for information. We'll send a link to you later after the meeting. So on this Padlet, you can write what kind of project you're interested in, how to contact you, who you are, and you can look for ideas there or comment other people's ideas and connect that way as well. It is an important thing to be clear about your ideas and start to look what you're looking for and to start early. And this is something extra important when you're collaborating between perhaps different subjects. You want to do something that is interdisciplinary, or when you're collaborating between different countries and different institutions. To be clear, what does this mean in my context, and how can other people understand what I'm looking to create? At all our partners, we have very good departments working with pedagogical development. It might be at faculty level or at university level. So if you want to do something innovative when it comes to your pedagogical methods used, well, look for support. What ideas could be useful for the course or the program or the COIL that you are interested in? If you are going for a joint program, you might also have experts on joint programs at your home university, or you want to reach out to colleagues that are running joint programs already. and ask them, what are your best advice? What do you wish you knew before you started this journey to develop a new joint program, so you don't have to make the same mistakes that other colleagues might have been doing. So make sure to look for these experts, because you will bound to find them. If you have any questions or doubts about what to put in the application, you're most welcome to reach out to EUGLOH. You can do that at this email address, and I'll be sure to help you and support you when it comes to these kind of technical questions. It might be that we answer that, well, you have to ask with your home institution, or you need to reach out to someone else, but you're always welcome to contact us for any kind of questions there. So I think that was what I wanted to share about how to make an application. It seems like a lot of details. We made an effort to make it easy and simple, but at the same time, we feel like you need a bit of guidance. What are we actually looking for? So we get application where we actually can understand what the teachers are intending to do, so we can assess them properly.
Yeah, thank you very much to both of you. We will now turn to the questions in the Q&A, but please make sure to continue writing your questions in there so we can continue answering. So we have a first few questions. So one of them is, how many hours should be okay for a course of 3 to 5 ECTS? I can say that for one ECTS, that should be around 25 to 30 hours. So for 3 times this by 3, and that should be the amount that you should have.
Yeah. I think that the definition of one ECTS differs slightly between the partner institutions. And that is something that you might run into when you start collaborating, but you are not to worry about this, because the university that is hosting a course, well, it's their definition of an ECTS that counts. So
Yeah. The next question is, can we develop courses for PhD students rather than just bachelor or master's levels?
yeah, good question as well. So when it comes to courses, we are aiming for courses that are targeted and that are taught at either bachelor level or master level. And the reason for that is that we want EUGLOH to have a big impact. We totally understand that it's very interesting and very relevant to have courses at PhD level. But the reason why we're saying that we want courses with at least 50 seats is also to make a larger impact here. So, I mean, if one is doing a course at master level, kind of often PhD student can also participate, they can attend, it can be very beneficial for them. But we want the courses to be at bachelor level or at master level.
And for PhD students, you could also take a look at other activities within EUGLOH that focus more on PhD students and this area, research-based learning. And there are offers available for that. So talk to your institutional managers, your EUGLOH team at your university to find out more. Okay, another question. The question is about research. So does EUGLOH have funding for research projects about education programs?
Yeah, so I mean, EUGLOH is basically mostly focused on education. We are starting to work more with research as well. It's primarily helping out with contacts and collaborations to look for other and external funding there. So I mentioned that we want to make as big impact as possible, and that's really making the most of the funding that we have. And that's also one reason why we are saying when it comes to develop courses for students, we primarily want to have either virtual courses or courses that can run as Erasmus blended intensive program, where the funding for running the course and the scholarship for students is within the Erasmus program. to make it sustainable and not dependent on our funding. But there's a lot of happening as well when it comes to, most of all, connecting those who are involved in supporting research as well. So the research officers are creating their own network within the alliance as well.
Yeah, and just to mention again that this particular funding line is not for research projects, but if you're talking about research projects as in research-based learning, where you use research to inform educational programs, then there is a work package dedicated to this. So please take a look for this. Okay, so now comes a question about the partners and developing a joint program with two EUGLOH partners, but with an additional partner that is outside of EUGLOH, but still in the EU. Is this possible?
Yeah. So starting to get into the interesting questions here. So for joint programs, we do want it to be 3 EUGLOH partners in there. But of course, one can also include other partners within EU. One can also include partners outside of the European Union as well. But we know that it is a quite large commitment to start working on the joint program. And we also know that we have been working on laying a foundation for this development work. So we think it actually is a benefit to have EUGLOH partners within the joint program. And as you probably know, it's if one is applying for Erasmus funding, well, three partners within the European Union is requested to be able to make an application.
Good. And if you want any more in detail answers to this, then please write a comment in the Q&A. Another question is, does the course need to be integrated in the existing programs of study at each participating university, or is it going to be offered alone, freestanding in EUGLOH?
Yeah, also a good question. Sara, would you want to comment on that?
Well, yes, the program can be offered through EUGLOH freestanding. It doesn't have to be existing within the institution. However, the development of the program is funded by EUGLOH, but the running of the program, unless that has also been submitted and applied for in a separate call, what might have to be funded by the institution. So there are separate calls for development of courses and for the running of courses. So the answer is yes and no, so to speak. That if it is a course that has not applied for funding for the running of it, then it would have to be part of the university's offering, so to speak.
And obviously, if it's integrated into existing programs or curriculum, then it's more sustainable because you can run it more often and gain more students that way.
Yeah, I think this is an excellent example of how you can kind of use EUGLOH to develop the institutions that are part of this alliance. That you might feel that you have a need for a new course and you want to have it in the offer of your university, and you do it by joining forces with colleagues from the other partners. But I think it's also important to remember that if you're applying for funding to develop the course, and then you have it, then when it comes to running the course, it's a criteria from us that it must be open for the students at the other EUGLOH partners. And whenever we open a course for all the EUGLOH partners, we are splitting the seats between us to have equal participation from all the 9 partners. Because we think it's really a strength when the students are meeting in the virtual or the physical classroom from all over Europe. So it's not an opportunity to say that I want EUGLOH funding to develop a course and then we'll only be open for 2 partners, for example, or only for my own students at my institution. The courses when they're running must be open for all the students from all all the 9 universities.
Another technical question about submitting multiple applications with different partners. So, for example, having one COIL with one partner and then applying for another COIL with another partner, and if this is possible. But I guess this also depends on the workload of the participant. If you have to be able to have the capacity to create all these opportunities selected.
Yeah. But I would say that, I mean, we have nothing in our description of the call that is limiting the teachers in any way. So, I mean, if you have two really strong ideas and you have the capacity to work with both of them, I mean, please, as many ideas as possible is very welcome. And we know that this concept of using a COIL is kind of new to several of the partners. Here at Lund University, we don't really have a lot of experience when it comes to working in this format. So it's really interesting to see that the interest is increasing among the teachers. And we also see that by taking two existing courses and kind of focusing on the kind of overlap between these two courses and do it where the students collaborate online. It seems like a perfect way of integrating international aspects in the curricula. So really much looking forward to see what kind of ideas will happen. But we also know that at some partners, it's very new. No one has been doing it. In some countries, it's a very strong trend in internationalization to be running COILs.
And there's a follow-up question from one of the previous ones. So is it possible to get funding for the running of a course if you had funding for the development of the same course? And I think we can say the answer is yes. So if you've gotten the funding for the implementation, well, for the development, then you can apply again to run the course within work package.
Yeah. But I can also stress that, of course, I mean, we are funding the development of the course because we are interested in seeing the result and to be able to offer the result to the students. But there is no guarantee between this, because it might be that you have been describing a very interesting course in very good ways, and you're working on developing it, and then you don't really succeed with it. I mean, there's no guarantee for success here. It might be that you turn up with something that is totally different, and for some reason we already have several similar courses or something that we're not interested in supporting. So there is no guarantee for being able to run the course just because you've been supported in developing it. Of course, we're hoping to do so. We've seen several examples already where development has been leading to the courses being run as well, but no guarantee there. And that is also something that can be seen as something positive, that you are allowed to try things out as well. You do your best, we are doing our best to support you, but it's not like we are pushing you, or it can be that it's not, the end result is not as you have wished for.
Okay. Another question is, are there different suggested timelines for developing the proposals? For example, 6 months for a course and 9 months for a joint program. Are there these differences in timelines?
I would say that there are. It depends a little bit on the partner university. Of course, there are different kind of administrative processes, but 6 months for a course seems to be reasonable. That normally, if we grant funding in the autumn, the people who have applied for funding will be told that in some time before winter, and then the course would run in the following autumn, so to speak. But we have also seen examples of quicker processes where the course would be run in the spring, in the late spring as well. When it comes to joint programs, the processes are a lot longer, and I think that 9 months is, for most of our partners, a little bit short. Joint programs would take longer than that. There's more administration to take into consideration with the various 3 partners that need to go into that.
I think the timeline also depends quite a bit on what partners that are involved in this as well. And I think that's something that we're experiencing when we're working a lot together, that summer vacation is actually a factor to take into calculation, because in Sweden and in Norway, we tend to get our summer vacation already in June. Midsummer is really when we start leaving and going for our summer houses. While further south you go, the later you have your vacation as well. So sometimes nothing can really take place in June, July, or August. So that kind of, if you have partners from different parts of Europe in your project, it might be that you have 3 months where you basically can't carry out very much work. So we're strongly encouraging everyone, when you're making an application, that you make a realistic timeline of what actions are you going to take when, and what kind of deadlines do you have to keep in mind when you are developing your this learning experience as well.
Okay, we have another question about gaining information on the projects that have already received EUGLOH funding. So particularly for the COIL programs, Kari from UIT would like to know more about the specific COIL activities that have been funded.
Yeah, very good. So when it comes to, I mean, so far it's only one COIL that has gotten support from EUGLOH. And in the spring, we made a webinar, a Spotlight on Web Education webinar, with the colleagues from Lund and UIT, where they talked about why they wanted to do a COIL and how they started working and so on. So I can recommend anyone who is interested to go to YouTube and look for EUGLOH, and there you can find this webinar about COIL and take a look at it. And you also have the names of the professors there, so you can make contact with them if you want to learn more about it.
Another question about the budget for tools and software like Zoom and various AI tools that students can use. Is it possible to use the budget for this?
Tricky question.
Yeah. I think it's also dependent on the university, because there are often regulations that state you can't buy standard equipment that you could get from the university itself.
Yeah. Yeah, and also, I mean, this is the funding is meant to use for developing the course or the COIL or whatever. And then we want people to develop them with the intention to run it and then run it several times. So if you're getting funding to develop something, well, you must think of the sustainability and be able to run it afterwards as well. And buying equipment, for example, is not, and these kind of licenses is not something that we would like to support. It also makes it a bit tricky when you are several partners involved in a project, and how can you use this and how can you share this experience?
Another question about the target audience. So this person has a preparatory course for a bachelor program, and would like to know if it's possible to develop a COIL within the preparatory course that's not a bachelor course or master's course.
This is also a tricky question, I think, isn't it? But one of the things that I think I would ask is, you would need to find a partner institution that would have an equivalent course where your COIL would fit into that preparatory course or that course with students for which this preparatory course or whatever component goes into it is relevant. So from that point of view, and perhaps you already have that, but I can see that there's a bit tricky there. And pre-bachelor courses is not something that we have, so to speak, have part of our agenda in EUGLOH. So I think that would probably fall outside of our calls.
Yeah, I mean, we are looking for courses that are credit bearing at university level. So I kind of assume that the preparatory course is not credit bearing. And I think it differs quite a lot, as Sara is saying as well, between partners if they do exist and how they are organized. So primarily when it comes to COILs, it's credit-bearing courses that are existing at the university. And when it comes to developing a COIL, it is the students that are accepted at those 2 or perhaps 3 courses at different partners that are interacting and are taking part in this COIL.
Another question is, can a course that's already received EUGLOH money in the call for short credit-bearing courses be revised and expanded into a COIL or a course, or even a joint program, I guess?
I think it's a very clever idea to kind of recycle things and expand, and also to, in one way, to kind of play around with the elements of the education. And I mean, as Sara Håkanson mentioned, we do want to see more joint programs being developed within the alliance, and to kind of create a COIL and then do a course and see if you can be a COIL instead, or could it be a starting point for a program? I mean, that's exactly the kind of mindset that we are looking for. So it sounds like a good idea, actually. What do you say, Sara? Do you see any limitations?
I think it's an excellent idea. I think it's an
Yeah.
excellent idea. Yes. So short answer is yes, please.
Yeah.
Do.
We have a question about deadlines. I'm not entirely sure what is meant here. Is it the same deadline? Do you mean for submitting a report, or do you mean for submitting your application?
Yeah. So in a way, the deadline for applying for funding for COIL or courses or program is all the 1st of February 2025. That is the deadline. And then in the application, you prepare your timeline for what you have to do when, and having a little bit more than 1 year to develop a new joint program. So we don't want the time to be a limitation when it comes to this collaborative work.
Yeah, that was the last of the questions in the Q&A so far, but we've got another one now. Is there a suggested structure for a COIL?
Well, not really.
No.
No.
It's very open, and I think that's the beauty of it, that it's very open to interpretation. It's the smallest unit that you can have as a joint collaboration with existing courses that you already have.
So I mean, the only thing that we're saying is that we want it to be the COILed part of these courses. There has to be students that are working together. It's not like you're doing a series of guest lectures or it should be some kind of group work where the students really have to engage and work together and really collaborate together.
Yeah, I think collaboration is the key word here.
Yeah, yeah. So that is really the part of it, and the idea is also that, I mean, if the 2 courses that are involved, I mean, the teachers are setting the grades on their students, so to speak. So you take existing syllabuses and each partner are grading their own students. So that also makes it possible to have courses that are in different subjects or different sizes of the courses, or even different level. It might be bachelor student in in one subject with master students in another subject. It could be any kind of combination, as long as there is this overlap in the topics where you can collaborate and compare and work together.
We can say that some of the common ways of student collaboration that we do see in these COIL applications are group projects between students from various partner universities.
Mm.
Yeah, any more questions?
I think we've gotten very good questions so far, and I think that when it comes to collaborating with education, well, it can be a bit tricky when you do it between partners. So I think the questions we've gotten so far, it really shows that people have an understanding of that you have to think ahead a little bit. You have to think about what is possible now, what is interesting, both for me as a teacher in my department, but also for the different universities. And how can we run and fund this, and how can we get support for running these activities later?
Yeah.
But I also think that we've seen so far from the teachers that are working together in EUGLOH, they enjoy it very much. And they start working perhaps on one project together when it comes to education, and then they are sharing contacts with each other. They are coming up with ideas for other kind of projects as well. It might go more into the research or publications or conferences or whatever. So there's a lot of spin-off effects from collaborating with education.
Yeah. And I want to do some shameless plugging of a workshop they will be offering in March in Munich from the 26th to the 27th of March, where we are running a workshop which is specific for learning design and how to storyboard a course out. So it's particularly good for those working together with new partners who you haven't worked with before to really work together and come up with a plan for a course. So you are welcome to apply. It's on the EUGLOH website.
Yeah, good idea. No, it's very good for teams that are starting to work together to make sure that you have the same kind of vision for your course and what you need to do. So, good example of activities that EUGLOH is doing for teachers, that we are doing more and more training activities for in pedagogical development and in course design.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think we just want to wish everyone luck when it comes to finding contacts to collaborate with and to try to think a little bit outside the box as well. To actually do courses that are multidisciplinary, that you have it in a very broad sense of global health. And really thinking about what kind of skills and knowledge do we want our students to bring with them when they graduate, when they are leaving our universities. So we are very excited to see what kind of ideas and proposals we will get.
Yes, very much looking forward to it. So all of you now get busy with your courses and COILs and joint programs.
Yeah.
And remember the Padlet.
That's the easiest way to find partners. So, to summarize today's discussion, the most important things are to collaborate. Collaboration is key. That we are funding COILs, so collaborative online international learning, joint courses, and joint programs. And we are very much looking forward to your applications. There will be more webinars, training activities, and staff days organized by EUGLOH coming up, which will be published on the EUGLOH website. So please look out for these. When leaving the webinar, a few questions will pop up. Please spend a few minutes answering them because this feedback is very important to us and it will help us develop the series for the future so we can really see what you want and what you need. After the webinar, you will also be emailed with a link to more information. The webinar is recorded and will be made available on the EUGLOH YouTube channel. And if you don't have any other questions, then thank you very much for joining us today.